It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin a Tuesday. Gary, what's happening?
Well, I almost got faked out yesterday, just for a millisecond, though, just for a millisecond. You know how you and I, you go on social media, you're just scanning the headlines.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I went, what? I didn't know this. And the headline was, Disney quietly cancels live-action Pocahontas starring Dylan Mulvaney. And I'm like, what? Disney? Oh, it's the Babylon Bee.
Wait for it, though.
Oh, I know. That's the thing. Wait for it.
We think the Babylon Bee had a great idea. Actually, we're moving forward. But it's not Dylan Mulvaney. It'll be Elizabeth Warren. So.
It was so funny. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh, my. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Everything's cool now. Everything's cool. Like, but at first it was like, what in the world?
Right.
So, interesting day yesterday. Huh?
Very interesting day. I have a question.
All right.
When it comes to anything related to national security, should we be doing that by text?
Well, on not
that I believe, by the way, the whole Atlantic claim. I don't, it's going through that all is interesting because by the way, it's the first of many questions on this whole thing. But I just don't know how any journalist, anybody from the media is brought in regarding that. And it's about where the discussion took place. And, that's the whole thing. It's, if you're typing into your phone, remember the whole thing with Obama and the BlackBerry thing. I mean, he was really upset he couldn't use his BlackBerry. And by the way, I'm just asking questions. This is not judgment on any of it, actually, because until I have all these questions answered, I really don't know. I can't tell you.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing. I need more information on it. I have questions. Number one, and we'll have the audio coming up, Scott Jennings saying that Signal was already downloaded onto their phones. Mm-hmm. So they were under the impression that, they couldn't do, they made it clear even in the conversation that they couldn't do the high classified stuff on Signal.
Right.
But still you wonder if you're getting to that point, because the whole thing about, Hegseth saying, well, there's no war plans on it.
Yeah, there were no plans discussed. Yeah.
No war plans. No war plans. Goldberg saying different. That there was war plans, and I guess it's what the definition of war plans is. I thought that made if Trump is looking to hold somebody responsible, Hegseth politically, because he came out and said that, if that isn't true, he's left himself vulnerable.
Right.
But overall, I don't know. I look at this and say, are any of the people that were actually involved in it, are they responsible for actually having the, secure infrastructure set up, or is that the National Security Council? Is that their job to do it?
Right.
Is anybody to blame that was involved in that discussion, or do they just assume that, oh, no, these people take care of, these people. If it's on here, if it's already preloaded, we can use it, and it's been cleared by the National Security Council.
And was it something in place as a leftover from the previous administration?
Well, that is what...
Because that
is one of the things that was brought up.
Yeah, that's which is one of my big questions. You have that in place and everybody coming in, you typically would assume, well, if this is in place, it must be secure, and the secure server must be fine, and we're all clear. Everything is. And again, we don't know the details of everything discussed here. I just tend to believe Hegseth over anybody from the Atlantic, but that's
the problem is that's not the debate now.
No,
the debate isn't Hegseth over Jeffrey Goldberg of the Atlantic. It's Hegseth versus the National Security Council
right, yeah.
and the representative that said this appears to be authentic.
Right.
So that
I know, but I have a question on that. Appears to be authentic, but authentic in the content or the fact that he was just on that message. Again, my question is, okay, it's authentic, no war plans were discussed.
Yeah, they didn't say that from the National Security Council. They just said it appears to be authentic and will be investigating it as they should. And the first thing I thought of, does the Inspector General get involved in this?
Maybe. Depends on who made what decisions here.
And then my next question,
if anything was wrong was done,
is there an Inspector General in that department to look over that? Would be my second question that I would have. You would assume so.
Would that fall under the overall Intel IG? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would think
that's
so.
That's what so
the ICIG.
And I thought about it if it appears to be authentic. Nobody is denying that the conversation is inaccurate.
Right. No.
None of the people. Which in itself is interesting when you look and see who was, who wanted to go after the Houthis. Here's the one good thing about all of this. Now America and a lot of Democrats will know that there's a terrorist group called the Houthis out of Yemen.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're just learning it from the Atlantic. Now AOC will go after the Atlantic.
I mean, from what it appears, no damage is done, but it just brings you back to, how do they do security? And we may never know. I mean, this stuff, even if the Inspector General looks at this, or there's going to be a congressional review already. Mm-hmm. The Republicans in Congress said, no, we're going to look into this to find out, how this happened. You didn't have Mike Johnson or anybody in Congress say, well, we're not sure whether it happened or not. They're under the impression it did happen and is legit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that it didn't happen. It's what was discussed. What are the claims about what level of information was shared? And, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, and I'm already getting it. The Yemen war plans were purposely leaked. It's 5-dimensional chess. So that's expected that one. Thanks. Okay. We appreciate that.
Right. Yeah. Do you leak it to the Atlantic? Well,
that was the other thing that you saw, especially out there. Now, you don't have anyone that was a part of that conversation, or any Republican in the government saying that.
Saying what? That
it was leaked? That it was leaked on purpose.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Nobody said, no sources saying that. Nobody's saying that.
Yeah.
So, again, that's the one. That would be. Trump is a genius. He's way ahead of you, and they leaked this in order to let the Europeans know. But the damage and like I said, anything's in the realm of possibility. We've always done this. We did this with Russia collusion. Anything's within the realm of possibility. What are the odds that it is the actual thing that happened? And with the damage and the investigation into something like this, that would not be good 5-dimensional chess to play.
Right. Even if nothing sensitive was shared or leaked, the headlines do their damage if there was a misstep by anybody in the administration. One of the things, a couple of thoughts during the Hyundai press conference. Someone asked the president about this, and he basically said, I'm just learning this from you. I didn't know anything about it. He said, I don't trust anybody at the Atlantic. It's not a good publication, that kind of thing. But I'm just learning this. But he was kind of matter of fact, and I thought, okay, two thoughts there, I guess, of possibilities. Either, whoa, this is really bad, especially if it hasn't gotten back to him, or it's actually not bad, and it's not a good thing, but it's not something that's very damaging because of the fact that no one ran to him with this ahead of that press conference with Hyundai. And you would think that would happen. If it's real, if they're in damage, the point is, if they're in damage control mode, you bring him in now, if not yesterday. And so it appeared he wasn't in the mix at that point, well, but I don't know, again, what the timeline is. And
the two main questions I would have is, why were they on Signal discussing this? It's encrypted, but again, it's not right. It's not. A lot of things are encrypted.
Yeah,
but who knows?
WhatsApp is encrypted. Yeah,
right. Who knows what what Iran in this case, or Russia or China? Mm-hmm. Whether the encryption means nothing to them.
Yeah, right. Well, it's, in fact, the Intel community, one of the confounding issues they've had in recent years, I guess maybe over the last decade or so, is the fact that there are so many commercial use private sector apps that have certain encryption that they can't break. I don't know if that has changed. That's as of about a year and a half ago. I don't know if that's changed since then, but they issued concern with that kind of thing. They said at that time, again about 18 months ago, they were close to solving that issue. So maybe they did.
And then the other question, and this question was brought up by without question absolute conservative supporters of the president.
Yeah.
And for example, Sean Davis from the Federalist. Mm-hmm. And he wrote, "Why is Jeffrey Goldberg from the Atlantic even on Mike Waltz's list?"
No,
that's somebody that you would even want to contact.
Really, I don't know
for anything.
I don't know if I expressed that earlier, but that's really what I'm getting at. How does that happen on? How in the world is he brought into that? Because how is there not a security mechanism in place? Because my question then beyond that is, well, is this how things are leaked? Like the previous administration used to make it a habit of, let's fold somebody from the Atlantic in on this, before we do this deal.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do it in a setting where you had 10 other people in the administration that were on it. You wouldn't leak that way.
Well, typically you wouldn't. I just don't know how it happens.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Is how is that? Because assume that it's. I have to assume, but with the former administration, I have no idea. Nobody was in charge. Hell, it could have been on a situation like that. The president wasn't even in on the group.
Well, the dumbest take from the left on this was, it was Jessica Tarlov. I don't want to ever hear but her emails again, trying to compare what Hillary did to this obvious mistake. Mm-hmm. If it is accurate, it happened that way.
Yeah, this was not. This doesn't seem to be deliberate.
Right. This was not premeditated to put a server outside the secure system in order to avoid the Freedom of Information Act and have a computer that was completely vulnerable 24/7.
Yeah.
All the time to our enemies. There's a complete difference between this and what Hillary Clinton did, and to try to make that analogy was just idiotic.
Well, you're comparing Mars to Earth. It's and remember what Comey tried to convince people of. Well, she doesn't quite understand what C stands for.
Right, exactly.
Classified.
Right. Only Democrats can use that as an excuse.
Well, no, it's James Comey saying she's the stupidest, moronic, most moronic Secretary of State ever.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying she's not, But that's what he was saying. She might well go down in history as that. I'm not saying one way or the other, but the point is James Comey was clearly, while trying to protect her, throwing her under the bus at the same time. She doesn't know what C stands for, but this is doesn't seem to be a deliberate act. And, tons of questions. Who was the admin on the app at the government, at the level of government? Who is that person who decides how that happens? How you all of a sudden inadvertently fold in somebody from the Atlantic in the conversation into the group. I've got on my phone. You've got group text. We all have group text. I have group text from the guys from Del Rio for, I don't know, better part of 20 years now. And, we go back and forth. I know who's on it. I know, who's a part of the discussion. It's funny. We talked about other classmates wanting to get on the discussion. The other guys told them, no, you can't be in on this. But I mean, but
definitely
somebody.
If the email was at the Atlantic, you'd probably question, should this person be part of our group?
Right.
That would be the other thing. If you see it immediately, we've done a lot of the, Zoom stuff and things like that, and you'll see everybody there,
right?
And who they are, and and I guess there was maybe 7 or 8 people on this one, and all of a sudden you'd see that email and you'd say, or that phone number, whatever it was, and you'd say, why is this?
Well, I mean, like if all of a sudden we were on a Zoom and we saw Jeffrey Toobin's name, I'd say, listen, everybody keep your pants on. We're going to fix this.
Exactly. 866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. It's not always easy to spring back from the harsh days of winter to warmer months ahead. From de-icing chemicals to hidden debris underneath snow and ice, winter conditions can do serious damage to your truck. Here's a must-do maintenance check to help you minimize downtime and stay rolling. Have your batteries tested and inspect your electrical system for any exposed connections, wires, or butt connectors. Get any exposed components repaired immediately, as the acidic nature of highway de-icers will erode any exposed connections or wires in no time at all.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Some economic numbers out yesterday. We'll get to that. We'll hear some analysis. In fact, Scott Jennings talking about, apparently he talked to some people in the administration about the whole Atlantic thing and the meeting between the White House staff and other staff on the Houthis and the attack that happened. Now, if it's true, if that's accurate, interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was interesting to see, you've got, Trump did it. Vance didn't want him to do it. Hegseth and Waltz did.
Yeah, right.
And it was interesting. If that conversation is true, it's fascinating insight into what's going on in the administration.
Yeah, that part of the back and forth was very interesting about, okay, how do you handle this? And the president's, what they believed, Hegseth believed, and I think Waltz believed, was a clear directive to open those shipping lanes, and so, basically that was their interpretation. We got to move on this. But very interesting. If we had a panel of everyone involved and they were able to and willing to answer questions, I'd have a lot for them.
Well, I just appreciate the transparency.
Exactly.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Here we go. This is Scott Jennings talking about the Signal app, the attack on the Houthis to open up the shipping lanes, and the meeting that was held in the middle of the group text, if you want to call it, that was set up on the app Signal that went over a period of a couple of days, as you know. That's the other thing, too, that I wondered. How did that go on for a couple of days without anybody from, if this is all true, the National Security Council, somebody inside of it? And that's why I looked at it. I go,
right,
well,
yeah.
Wait a minute. That's like if our IT department doesn't do something right.
Mm-hmm.
And I go on the computer like I normally do on what I assume is trusted because it's in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I use it. Am I responsible, or is IT for screwing it up?
Right. Well, that's why I asked about who's the admin here, because the admin in this case would be somebody with, national security clearance. And that's my question. Who oversees all of that? If you have a conversation between a sitting president and any foreign leader, it is populated by at least 12, 18 people, sometimes more, including sometimes in fact, quite often the CIA.
And how do we know that?
Well, because of the entire thing with Zelensky and Ukraine and that call in the summer of 2017 that led to the impeachment.
Right.
But that's been the practice for a long, long time. The point being is that you would think, and I do have a question, is so much of this dismantled? If the former administration was willing to open the border to hardened criminals and was part of the let them back out on the street mentality that's on the left, I can't tell you what kind of guards they let down. And I have a question there. I don't know if that happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's still on the incoming administration to double check everything. But, which gets back to the, hey, y'all, why are we texting? Kind of thing. I mean, I'm a layman. I'm not part of that. Someone would have to explain to me, the back and forth, because my question is, how vulnerable is this beyond the situation that we're in now, outside of folding somebody from the Atlantic into the conversation? What about the enemy breaking into a conversation?
By the way, just to add one thing, the bogus impeachment #1.
Exactly. Yes, the first bogus impeachment.
Right.
Yes.
Let's get to Scott Jennings on CNN as they talk about it, because this is really interesting. Apparently, he talked to some people inside the administration.
All right. Moments ago, Caitlin Collins was reporting on her show, Scott, that there is shock inside the White House that this chat was texted to Jeffrey Goldberg. Are you shocked?
Well, sure. I mean, it's a shocking thing, and they've admitted that it was a mistake and admitted that it's authentic, so they're owning up to it. I think they're still, based on what I've heard tonight, trying to figure out how it happened. I'm not sure the National Security Advisor Walls even knows Goldberg. In fact, I don't believe he knows him and has never met him. I did learn a few things in some of my conversations, if you're interested. One is that the Signal program was preloaded on a number of devices and agency computers in this circuit when they got there. So in their view, it was already in use. Number two, in some of the messages, they talk about needing to go to the high side computers, which is the classified system. So they clearly were knowing there was a line on what you could discuss in a chat like this versus classified system. Number three, there is a dispute over whether the term war plans is being exaggerated. And number four, look, I love the policy. It's well executed. You've got a thoughtful policy discussion going on. And we did what the Biden administration would not do, stop these people from harassing our shipping lanes and our boats and our Navy. So good on the Trump administration for reversing a bad policy.
So why?
Yeah, right. No, I think all good points. It starts with a ton of questions, but
because the one question that when I listened to Scott Jennings, I went, well, if Walz didn't know Goldberg, why was Goldberg? How did he get? How did he get on there?
Right.
If he didn't know him, I mean, those are just
because I would think
weird questions.
Yeah, I would think at this
totally
level,
weird. Yeah,
that as you populate the message, the group, how was that? Every time there something is sent, whoever the admin is, and I don't know if it's National Security Council, somebody in the National Security Advisor's office, but somebody with that kind of clearance sees who is sending and who is receiving each message. And again, I don't know because I don't know enough about that.
Here's one
process.
question, because the minutia of the details matter in something like this, and you have whether it's Scott Jennings, whether it was Fox News, Wall Street Journal, looking at an editorial page that's different from the news division, as you know, but where they say that the National Security Council spokesperson confirmed the accuracy. And they're all going by this statement, which says, this appears to be an authentic message chain. That's different from saying this is an authentic message chain.
We can confirm that it's authentic.
Can confirm.
Well,
and I think that it just, and again, it may all be legit, but when you're using and justifying and saying something is authentic and somebody says appears authentic and you're using that, you should say the National Security Council spokesperson said this appears to be authentic, so that's their thought process at the moment. So if it is authentic, right? I mean, isn't that the right way to do it?
That's it.
Right.
If it's authentic, but then okay, but the claim on the content of it, the plans. All right, so the Atlantic claiming these were plans. Well, plans. That would require you to have details. That's a timeline and here's where it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's what Goldberg says he didn't include in what he put out, that those were actually there, he claims.
Right. And so that's the difference, because I don't trust anything by the liberal activist media. But also this could be first of all, it is a huge mistake, but it could be massive. I guess we'll find out soon enough. I go back to the president in that moment being asked the question on the fly at the Hyundai announcement presser, and he was pretty straightforward. I'm just learning about this. I didn't hear about that. I don't trust the Atlantic, but okay, I'm just hearing about it from you, so I don't know. And I'm wondering, well, how could they be in damage control mode and the president not know, which tells me it didn't rise to the level of damage control. And unless there was too much that wasn't known by everybody involved at that point by the time the president stepped out in front of the cameras at the Hyundai thing. So I don't know. It's not a good look, but I don't see anything where it's, you're going to have to show me, first of all, again, why this happens. Do they change this process? I think they do. Probably already have. Because the thing about the group messaging, the back and forth on group messaging, again, because I would think, like, when you've got your buddies on, or we have friends on a group text on our phones, you don't see everybody's name because it's there's not enough room to put everybody's name. You see it if they respond or send something, and then they see that you're on it if you respond or send something. And on something like this, shouldn't it be required that every time something is sent the population who's on that messaging is going to be very clear to them before they send it. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's not that advanced, and maybe it is leftover massive holes in national security from the previous administration, or could be a big mistake by the current administration. Don't know.
Yeah. I just, the reading here from the text of what was there.
Mm-hmm.
If this is all true,
Yeah.
and nobody has denied it that was part of this conversation as of yet.
Right.
This didn't happen. But the key exchange began, and I'm laughing here because of the end sentence here from the Wall Street Journal editorial. The key exchange began March 14th, the day before the U.S. strikes on Yemen, when the Signal user Mike Waltz wrote, "Team, you should have a statement of conclusions with taskings per the president's guidance, but not all preferred to take that guidance. I think we are making a mistake." The user J.D. Vance replied, 3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez, the canal blocked by the Houthi fire, while 40% of European trade does. Then Vance continued, "I'm not sure that the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. There's a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. In some, there is a strong argument for delaying this a month, doing the messaging work on why this matters, seeing where the economy is." This counsel of delay, waiting for economic news that may never come, was echoed by Joe Kent, a noted isolationist whom Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard had named in her chat as her point of contact. In reply, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth pointed out the risks of waiting, stressed Iran's role, and made the case for the operation. "I see it as two things," he wrote: restoring freedom of navigation, a core national interest, and reestablishing deterrence, which Biden cratered. Mr. Trump later made similar points in public. That reflects well on Mr. Hegseth, though it's notable that he named Dan Caldwell as his point of contact. Caldwell comes from the isolationist Koch network, which Mr. Trump said he wanted out of his administration. Mr. Waltz explained the damage to global trade and the limits of European navies. Whether it's now or several weeks from now, it will have to be the United States that reopens these shipping lanes. Mr. Vance finally conceded to reality. "I just hate bailing Europe out again," he wrote. Mr. Hegseth agreed. "I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic, but Mr. Mike Waltz is correct. The president's policy carried the day." And then the last sentence. "Now, Mr. Trump now knows which of his deputies tried to block it and which tried to carry it out."
Well, there's that. Oops.
Well,
you're not worried about the Atlantic.
No, but
you're worried about Trump finding out. Oh, crap.
No, but what I got out of it is, look, and Trump isn't stupid. He knows there's going to be people going back and forth on these things. That's obvious.
Right, yeah.
But what it does show is something that we've always said. One of the criticisms of Trump, some of it's come from within a lot of it's come from within the Republican Party, that he's an isolationist. Mm-hmm. And you and I've always said, no, he's not.
Right.
He wants to approach it in a different way, but he's certainly not an isolationist. And this, again, when it happened the other day, you and I said that. See, he's not an isolationist. And now, if this is all true, how it went back and forth, you see that Trump wanted to, that's what it seems like. They knew Trump's policy was to go in, all right, what do all of you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to, I would categorize him closer to minimalist. Peace through strength, but then targeted, and we saw that during the first term, targeted attacks, and you get it done, you get the job done. If you're going to do it, then you complete the mission. And he's not an isolationist.
Well, the thing is,
never really has been.
Vance was worried about gasoline skyrocketing. It really didn't.
No.
Or oil. The oil price skyrocketed.
Yeah, right,
really
yeah.
Didn't.
Yeah, it didn't.
At all. Still sitting just below 70.
Right.
So it didn't go up to 80 or 90 or
right.
Like
yeah.
that. 866-98 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. Thank you for being here this morning. Coming up, following the top of the hour, well, illegal immigrants don't get to vote in New York City. You saw that one.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. Democrats continue to struggle. I love this headline. Democrats continue to struggle with trans issues.
It's not that hard.
They're struggling?
Live the way you want to live. Aside from that, we're not changing the definition. We're not changing the First Amendment. We're not changing science.
And the left's still going crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's not anything new. So maybe that's not a good tease.
Our live coverage of the crazy left continues.
Top of the hour news is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Good news or bad news?
I'll take the bad news first.
Okay, I'm going to give you the good news. U.S. economic growth accelerated in March, driven by a strong rebound in the services sector that more than offset a renewed decline in manufacturing, according to a report from S&P released on Monday. The composite measure of U.S. economic output, which measures the combined manufacturing and services activity, rose to 53.5 from 51.6 in February, marking a 3-month high. The report showed that growth was primarily fueled by the services sector, where the business activity index increased to 54.3 from 51.0. Also a 3-month high. Companies reported improved new business inflows, partly due to strength in demand and improved weather conditions. However, services exports continued to decline for a third consecutive month. In contrast, manufacturing activity deteriorated sharply. The manufacturing output index fell to 48.8 from 54.5. Now, by the way, that just doesn't show a decrease. That shows that manufacturing is in contraction territory right now. While the broader manufacturing purchases managers index, which includes new orders, employment changes, inventories, and delivery times, in addition to inputs, slipped to 49.8 from 52.7. Both readings represent 3-month lows and signal the first contraction in the manufacturing sector since December. Factories reported fewer instances of tariff-related front-running that had temporarily boosted production earlier in the year, and new orders growth nearly stalled. The front-running is that companies got their inventories up.
Right.
So people know what that means. Despite the improvement in overall business activity, optimism about the future deteriorated. A report noted that confidence about the year ahead fell to its lowest level since October of 2022, and that was written by John Carney. Just so people know, he is pro-tariff, just so you know. So don't sit there and go, you guys are skewing this in some way from the liberal media. That comes actually from Breitbart and John Carney. And as we said before, when it comes to the tariffs, and thanks for all the input that people have. But as we said before, we're not against all tariffs.
No.
Reciprocal tariffs can be used. It's something that can be used when companies are involved in unfair trading practices. But that'll be interesting. And I don't know. I don't know how much the front running of tariffs. We know that increased inventories earlier because we knew that was happening even before he became president.
Right.
That was happening. But I don't believe that any tariffs that have been instituted now are the reason for the decline.
No, I don't think so.
I don't
think so.
I don't sense that.
And the reason is that what you're seeing right now is, first of all, I mean, April 2nd really is the target date and big moves. But also the market is kind of, they have to kind of take a wait-and-see approach, okay? Will there be more exemptions, or will they, move the deadline again, or that kind of thing? And then when we talk about this kind of activity, that's the reality of, again, tariffs or whatever it is being in place. So yeah. I don't think that's a big driver here at all. So it will be interesting to see. The president is taking, it's, and I think it's the opportunity that you do want to take if this is where you're going. The thing with the chip makers, NVIDIA, yesterday with Hyundai, and all these announcements, and you have the way, you would have it. You have everybody up there. You have Speaker Johnson. You have Scalise. You have the Governor Landry of Louisiana. You have the Hyundai officials there and the president. And you announce the big investment and what it means. And then, you keep the tally on something like that. That's going to be, again, kind of the trophy here. And he kept saying this is because of tariffs. And we believe there's going to be a lot more coming down the road. So you take those victories as they come, and then you promote them. The problem with yesterday is and I'm wondering, and because you and I watch and read all this stuff, the average person does not. So you have to do more than just the press conference. I think you have to have all your surrogates out there. If this is where you're going with it, and using this as a trophy or victory lap, or however you want to do it politically, then it's going to have to be even further. It makes me wish that, again, Ramaswamy had more time and availability to get out there and talk these things, because he's very good about the pragmatic approach, plain English, straight to the point approach. And that's what we'll see where that goes and what victories, or what investment in the future that we're going to look at.
Yeah, and again, I don't know. I mean, investment happens in the United States all the time. Mm-hmm. Be interesting to talk to these CEOs and say, are you specifically responding to the tariffs? And if the tariffs are taken off, what will you do? Because if you see it on one side and the tariffs stay, then American manufacturers will be moving to where they need to produce it so they can avoid the tariffs.
Well, I thought that about Hyundai, in fact. Yeah,
right.
Because Hyundai's, this steel plant is going to be for making parts for cars and everything else. All right, which makes sense, of course, given who they are. But then is it at a level, I think he said 1,400 employees at that plant is what they plan ultimately. But if that is the case, that's a pretty big operation. If that's the case, is that only supporting basically those parts, that steel for those parts in U.S. manufacturing, or do they look to export? If they look to export, how's that going to
I've already seen the response. I've already got emails of people asking me, well, I thought this was about American manufacturing. Why are we celebrating?
No, there was a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, why are we celebrating foreign companies coming over here?
What about U.S. steel?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that. Right. But when you, the danger of getting involved in populist economics is the fact that you're always looking for a new victim and therefore a new oppressor.
Right. Well, the president made a point, I don't know, a few times during that press conference yesterday with the Hyundai officials. Now, they're not going to step up and go, well, that's not true, Mr. President. So, there's that. But he was making the point that, look, if you come here and set up your manufacturing here in the United States, this shows that there are no tariffs. So this is a benefit, and this is why we have more and more of this type of investment. Again, if it wasn't true, there's not going to be a showdown. There's not going to be a back and forth between the Hyundai officials and the president.
I'm not criticizing. I'm all for, foreign investment in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But one of the biggest things, I know when we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, the majority of emails I got completely against foreign investment in the United States.
Mm-hmm. No, it is. I think it's been a hot issue even before Trump came back. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Actually, it might go back before his first term, about foreign investment. Actually, I know that it does. because there was a lot of concern about China and other nations investing in the U.S., especially with ventures in oil and drilling and all of that. And the question is the overall effect. You have to measure the response on that. So how many people are actually, again, wholly against foreign investment? Is it just a small group? I'd love to see the internals of what they find, right? Because I remember I had a family member that was working, my brother was working in oil exploration. And at one point, his company, an American company, was working in a partnership with a company owned by China or from China. I don't know if they were owned by the government or not, but aren't they all kind of? And they were doing some offshore drilling, and there was, a lot going on. And he said, the process kind of changed because of the way that they monitor their production and all of that. And so it kind of changed on site a little bit. But I don't know how much there is in this massive, in terms of the American public overall, because you look at the political effect. Is there this huge backlash, or is it a smaller group of people? And I don't know the answer to this question that are rejecting that investment. I think a lot of us conservatives have a great concern about, especially China. I mean, this doesn't apply clearly to Hyundai, but on Chinese investment in the U.S. That would be a great concern, especially if they're buying up real estate or have certain leases on oil production and everything else. I think there's going to be a great concern. And U.S. Steel was a big deal because Trump made it a big deal in the first term. When he announced the steel tariffs, kind of on the fly when he announced them. And so the idea was, we want to protect because they were dumping steel here. He made the point yesterday, if you make it in the United States, there's no tariffs. And I was waiting for him to say, if you make it in the United States, then it's American. Well, I think you'd have some pushback by people who want to protect U.S. steel.
Here's a question that I have. Is it the tariffs, or are international companies looking at the entire world and looking at China, for example, and even looking at Asia, and even looking at not just the supply chain, but the European Union, and looking at the regulations, and in China, the central government, and are they starting to say, are they starting to say, look, Trump is a guy who wants to deregulate it? Not the tariffs might not be a part of it, but is it the overall view of the United? Because Trump's gone in 3 years. Sorry, Steve Bannon. Trump's done.
Well, Trump is.
Barron's next.
J.D. Vance, Donald Trump Jr., 2028.
But when companies do this, when they invest, they're not investing for 2 or 3 years.
No.
They're investing for the next... they're investing the next 20, 30 years. Are they looking at the United States and seeing, okay, the United States is now going to be in probably a generational mindset of less regulations, cheap energy, going after their own natural resources. This is the place to be. The European Union, even Asia and Japan, you look at it, and China. We don't like where they're going. We want to go where there's less regulation and the ability to do the things that we want to do. And we see that the United States over the next 20 years is going to be going in that direction.
Yeah. No, I think it's a
combination of everything.
Well, it's what you would want. I mean, long-term investment, and also that signaling to the world, hey, we're open for business. Look, if you look at immigration, legal immigration, what's the idea? Well, they want to come here because it's the land of prosperity. They want to come here to make a better life for themselves. The left will tell you, because of climate change. But it's really about prosperity. It's about the opportunity. And so then apply that to business. Well, my gosh, the largest market is the U.S. You want access to those customers directly. Let's become American. Let's bring that here. I would think that would be a given just based on, the consumption level with or without tariffs. But, this is certainly something politically that the president can promote right now. And I think if these things are going to happen, then promote them. promote the daylights out of them. They've been doing.
Yeah, that's a
pressers
question
on
you had. You said, "Are they promoting it enough?"
Yeah,
but then again, when you realize that one of the problems with the Biden administration, they look and go, "What are the lessons of the Biden administration?" They promoted such a great economy that people didn't feel it because of prices.
Yeah, it's got to translate.
Is there a hesitation because if you brag too much about how great the economy is and the people don't feel it,
right? And then
as what happened during the Biden administration, and
right. You try and tell them, well, no, wait for it, it's coming. That's kind of a hard sell, but you do have to promote it. If it's happening, it's a positive.
Oh, I would absolutely
you got to
promote it.
So the question is to what degree? Right?
866-98 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF Fuel Power Max.
It's a common road rumor that it's impossible for one-truck owner-operators and even carriers with just 2 or 3 trucks to get freight direct from the source, the shipper. Yet, hard-won experience from untold numbers of owner-operators with authority disproves the notion. Search your home base area and, later, frequent freight destinations to find all the manufacturers, distributors, and other shippers in the area. Once you get that list, ask yourself if those companies know who you are and what you do. If not, you're leaving opportunities on the table. Strive to own your backyard, to build a solid foundation for the business. For many a small fleet, it's the loads outbound from home that are the bread and butter. But you can take that same approach to the destination area, identifying shippers there and getting on the phone to make sure they know who you are and what you do. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Those crazy Democrats coming up following the bottom of the hour. We'll tell you about on MSNBC, the Morning Joe panelist who wants to eliminate all voter registration laws. It's like, you're going in the wrong direction there, dude. Oh, my gosh. It's just
all voter registration laws. Yeah. Do away with everything. People should just be able to walk in and say who they support.
And the violent rhetoric coming from Crockett.
Yeah.
You saw that when she talked about Ted Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing this on purpose.
Of course.
We all know this, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to use the violent rhetoric and deny I'm using the rhetoric, and I'm just using, political stuff. But here she is talking about Ted Cruz in Texas. Here we go.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. I think, and I love Colin, and I think towards the end he started to punch a little harder. But, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, this dude has to be knocked over the head, hard, right? There is no niceties with him.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, that's my congressperson by 3 blocks because of redistricting a couple of years ago.
What's going on with your neighbors? Is there an over-under on how long she survives in Congress?
She's an absolute nutcase.
Yeah,
she's
I mean, it could be that she's there for a while.
She's very childlike, too, as you know.
Yeah, she really is.
Is.
She sounds. It sounds like a preteen on Instagram, on social media. That's what she sounds like. You listen to her talk, and there is just no way to take her seriously. I didn't see her ads because I don't know if they were targeted in how they were targeted here in North Texas or her campaign or anything.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing an ad.
I don't remember seeing anything at all.
Yeah.
And so, but the ads are often, just a picture and then, video of her, or the person, but they're not talking a lot. The moment she starts talking, it's like, oh, yeah, no, she's not even qualified.
It's interesting because when I've said that she's my congressperson, some listeners have said, well, then you should run. There was no Republican candidate running against her. It
Oh,
was a
wow. I
libertarian.
didn't know that.
That's how, well, she won like
Interesting.
85% of the vote.
Yeah.
That's how gerrymandered my district is.
Wow.
And they threw my neighborhood in a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
My neighborhood was not in. That was the newly created 30th district.
Right.
And so we got thrown in that. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's how Democrat it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that thing, how it's gerrymandered. It
my
goes
gosh,
all the
it's
way
crazy.
through
Mine
Dallas.
too,
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, the one thing when we talk about the entire incident, whatever happened here when it comes to that app Signal and war plans and everything else is you saw that Kash Patel yesterday came out and said the story that was written about him going to fire 1,000 ATF agents entirely false, a CNN report.
Yeah,
remember that? What was the New York Times story the other day that Trump said,
Elon Musk was going to be in a top secret meeting, strategy meeting,
and said not true.
Yeah.
This is the thing that's going on now that the public is used to. The public knows that when Trump was in office, it's one of the reasons Trump got elected. Lawfare.
Yeah. Yeah.
The people that voted for Trump knows that he wasn't a traitor, that the Russia collusion hoax was Hillary Clinton.
Right.
They know that.
Right.
And so when the media starts doing this and they can't back it up, and they do the story and the administration denies it and says it's false, and they don't attack back because they don't trust their own sources, that hurts the media even more.
Well, I think it does, because I saw the headline on the CNN push notification was something to the effect of Trump announces 25% tariffs on Venezuela as he makes unsubstantiated claims about criminals coming from Venezuela to the U.S. This is the media's version of lawfare. It really is. And, you know, those are the things that they don't understand. They're not reading their own room. They're not reading their own room. Look at your ratings. Look at your viewership, your readership, your subscription levels. But they don't care, because if you do this on top of the activist judges, you get the headlines, and you can use the activist judges' actions by creating headlines too. It's why the whole Atlantic thing is, I don't know. And I really don't know, but it wouldn't shock me that the Atlantic came out and, engaged in a ton of hyperbole and called it something that it wasn't. We'll see when that all falls out.
I was a buddy of mine posted the other day. He said, there a story. It was like a story that he had heard that a Chinese person told an American, "Well, we don't watch the media over here because we know it's all propaganda," implying that people do here. And I had explained to him. I said, "Well, they don't. When you look at the total number of people that watch the nightly news on ABC, CBS, and NBC. When you look at the people that get their news from CNN or MSNBC, it's extremely small.
Yep.
New York Times and Washington Post hemorrhaging subscribers, as are all newspapers. And we had said this a few years back. When you look at it, you may have 25 million people that totally get their news from the news networks and CNN and MSNBC out of 340 million. And I said, because all you really have is state media for the most part.
Right.
Roughly 50% of the Chinese get their news from
CNN.
From the Chinese news network.
News network. Yes.
Get their news from it. I said, so that's not accurate. I said, people have said that. That's one of the things that we got for years, and we kept telling people, no, it's going in the opposite direction.
Yep.
People are going online to get their news, and it's not. A part of it's the bias, but the other part of it is that I think is the most wonderful part of it is people don't want to wait for news.
Well, that's a big deal because if you look at it, you can go back and review. This is what I love about YouTube. Like Forbes Breaking News, their channel, they put a lot of raw stuff up there, press conferences and everything else. I think it's great. And then you can go back and review if you need to. But beyond that, when there is something going on, the old days of, your youngest child could die by 9 p.m. We'll have the story at 11. That kind of, wait and tune in later, even during the newscast. Coming up, Bruce tells us what the weather's going to be this weekend. Everybody's looking at their phone. Yeah, we already know.
Yeah.
And so that kind of reporting works in a limited fashion, kind of background kind of thing. It's people aren't sitting around waiting to be fed the news anymore. And I think a lot of that has to do with the growing distrust of the media.
Yeah, it's a combination, but it's also people don't want to wait for news.
Yeah.
You see, for example, on sports, they'll do the thing, and the hockey team played tonight. Highlights coming up. Oh, thank you for reminding me that the highlights are already on YouTube.
Exactly.
An hour before I have to watch you, and I don't have to put up with anything and wait for that particular moment.
Right.
I can go to YouTube and get all the highlights that I want.
Right.
And so that's, and the bias is a part of it, but you take the two together, and that's why there's been such a shift. And we dealt with it probably till about a year and a half ago when people stopped writing us, when they realized no. Yeah. And this is the first election where you've seen that the media didn't matter.
Right.
What they put out there just doesn't matter. People get their news from the internet. Now, there's good and bad to that, but the public, for the most part, understood what happened to Donald Trump and made him president.
Yeah,
and because of the way the media covered it, helped Trump. It's like everything that's. I don't want anybody promoting violence because I just don't want them doing it. I don't think it's the right thing to do. But you're not going to stop them. You're not going to stop, for example, what's going on and the sympathy that you see from Democrats towards, which is really unbelievable, liberals burning EVs and charging stations.
Insane.
Which is just like, did you see that one coming?
Right.
And we did, because we had said before the election when Elon Musk was really, butting up to Trump, and we just said, his market.
Yeah.
I saw yesterday 2/3 of the vehicles of Teslas are sold to Democrats. Only 1/3 to Republicans.
Right.
And you and I have talked about it. How long will he be with Tesla? How long does the board of directors want him on? What does he own? 15% of the stock?
Yeah.
Something like 15%. But there's already the rumblings. You got to go.
Right.
You can't be associated with it because you're now part of Doge. That's not going away.
Yeah,
you plan on being a part of it till next year.
You can't rebrand
it
with him still being involved, and it's quite unfortunate. I hate that because, but I have to believe that he knew.
Yeah, of course he knew,
and because the demographics of your customer base,
and it's Trump.
Yep.
You're not going to convince. 30 to 45% of the Americans that Trump isn't a Nazi.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether there's no evidence.
Right.
Well, forget about Trump being a Nazi, Elon Musk being a Nazi.
Right.
And as we brought you last week, if you actually look at where Elon Musk stands, he's the complete not only is he not a Nazi, his libertarian beliefs and his family's beliefs from South Africa make him completely the opposite of what a Nazi is. 180 degrees difference. It doesn't matter because remember, this is the party that sold racism as anti-racism. This is the party that sold DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is actually racist. It's a racist philosophy that all white people are culturally racist to the point where it might as well be genetic.
Right.
And so you look at the same party that has promoted unbelievable, immoral, and evil misogyny of the radical transgender movement. I mean, it's just you just shake your head going.
Well, and
wow.
this is this counters the claim, and we've talked about this, but it fits into this conversation. It counters the claim of look at all these billionaires. They're just doing it. It's just cronyism. Look, it's a very real possibility that Elon Musk. First of all, he's already lost a ton of wealth based on the stock price of Tesla. Beyond that, quite possible that you look at before Trump, when he bought Twitter, all of these moves, does that look like somebody who's an opportunist? Now, I will say that he's an opportunist in that he finds real opportunity, but he's not looking for to be a political opportunist as much as he is. I wholeheartedly believe that he believes what he's promoting wholeheartedly. I don't think there's any question in my mind at all that he believes in this country and wants to promote this country and is willing to take that hit because look, he overpaid for Twitter. That's everybody knows that. I think he knows that, and he knew going in with the Tesla thing, going in with the Trump team. Trump knew when Trump announced, well, this is going to do it for my brand, the Trump brand, which is adored by everybody around the world, really wasn't divisive at all, except for I disagree with who he fired on The Apprentice last week. That was the most controversy he really had up till then. And now he comes in, the entire brand, which means generational wealth is depleted, which means the future of his family, their kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and so on. And all of these things, well, that to me sounds like sacrifice, not opportunism.
Well, that's why it's not working for the Democrats. Trump put an oligarch. It's the oligarchy. They're just here to make money. And even Bill Maher last week, they were laughing about that.
Yeah.
You can't get more Democrat than Bill Maher. One of the complaints, Bill Maher talks like a conservative, but he keeps voting Democrat. Well, what does he expect?
Right.
He keeps bitching about the fact this is wrong,
Yeah.
Democrat. But you keep voting Democrat.
Right.
But they were talking about the absurdity of the Democrats trying to say that Elon Musk and Trump are, that they are serving the public just to make money, that they're actually not serving the public. They just want to become rich. And they talked about the fact that, my God, how much money, how much wealth has both of those men lost serving the public? It's 180 degrees the opposite.
If this is a business move, it's the worst ever by two of the top business minds in America.
Yeah. You can't make the case. To me, it's even worse than 80-20 because you still have the 20.
Yeah.
But when you look at the actual facts behind, are Elon Musk and Trump in it to make money, you can't make that case because it's completely the opposite. It's not 80-20, it's 180.
Right. Exactly.
If that makes sense.
Seriously, if Democrats come back into power, then we're going to have to worry about FEMA workers avoiding houses that have Teslas out front. Think about that. If you own a Tesla and you have a flag hanging out front in your house, oh my gosh!
Well,
that
the
guy's
other thing is, they
full
talk
on Trump
about,
supporter.
You're committing terrorist acts against fellow Democrats.
Yeah,
because still the majority of Teslas are owned by Democrats.
I have to wonder for those Democrats, the rank and file that are Tesla owners, how many are concerned not as much with their car being targeted, being keyed or something like that, as they are being labeled a Trump supporter?
I was going right around the corner from my house today.
Yeah.
I was about a block and a half away, and I see a Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
And my first thought was, this is Texas. They're fine. And I went, oh, this is Jasmine Crockett's district.
Exactly.
They might not be okay.
Maybe not. We hope they are, but wow. Yeah.
866-98-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I just read Margot Cleveland here from 4 hours ago. I'm young enough to remember when the legacy press told us the portions of the Steele dossier, or that portions of the Steele dossier had been confirmed.
Yeah. Exactly. Confirmed. And then you get into reading it. Sources say
Yeah.
an unnamed person who is familiar with the situation. I'm always thinking, well, hell, I'm familiar with the situation. What does that even mean? People familiar with it? You mean anybody with a Google? Seriously.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hello.
You know what I really, really like?
What's that?
That as I go through my day, and yesterday was one of those days, I really think that it's incredible the way every day, and most of it I see in social media, not on TV, but you saw it yesterday. There's Trump sitting there, and there's 10 people around him.
Yeah.
Many members of his cabinet, Elon Musk, and they're going back and forth, and he's sort of holding court.
Yeah.
And, what do you have over here? What do you have over here? What's going on over here?
Yeah, yeah.
That hasn't been done. One of the things that, remember in the first term, and when Trump was talking about the wall, and we said what he needs to do is not just have him talking about it, but what he needs to do is go to the border cities and hold town halls.
Yeah, he's good at that.
Hold town halls and bring the experts in to talk about and bring local people in and local mayors and officials and even Democrats that would have said, it's unacceptable. I'm a Democrat, but it's unacceptable what's going on here.
Right.
And we said it takes it out where he just sits there and he listens. And he's, is shaking his head up and down, or if he disagrees, no, whatever. But he's sort of the moderator of the group that is endorsing. It's not him just promoting it. It's the group of people around him promoting what he believes, and this is our purpose, this is why I'm here, and this is what we're doing. And yesterday, I saw when Pam Bondi was sitting next to him, the Treasury Secretary Bissett was giving a report as to what's going on. Elon Musk talking about the $330 million in SBA loans to people under 11 years of age, and it seems as if I wasn't doing what I was doing, which means I have another job. I'm doing something else every day, but I'm paying attention to social media. I'm almost getting a report every day about what's going on. And it's not just Trump as a political ad. It's like, what's going on over here? What did you find over here? What did you find over here? It's the kind of, what was the show he did again?
The Apprentice.
I never liked The Apprentice.
Right.
To me, I thought it was fake.
Right.
It just came across as fake.
Yeah.
This doesn't.
It's a game show.
Yeah. This comes across as people trying to get the job done. You're trying to get the job done. My dad would say, DTJ, do the job. That's what it's about. I think it's wonderful. I think it's part of the best marketing. You and I were talking about, they do these things during the middle of the day and everything else. This is in our pre-show meeting. Is it getting out to a wide enough audience? I think when it goes on social media, it is.
I think the saturation certainly with social media, and this has to be the effort. I think it has been by rank and file surrogates, but also to some extent by their official surrogates in making things go viral. If it's not the concerted effort, it needs to be, because when you're having those announcements, they're going to benefit you, but also the discussion of, the plain English talk about, wow, what does this mean? Oh, this is going to be great. This is, these are the kind of things in short form and then repeated over and over again. I like the fact that he's doing these pressers. I think the problem is, again, is that there's a lot of people that aren't going to tune in initially. But take that, and as you mentioned, through social media, you put that out, and because I could see a YouTube short or a TikTok video paring down the Hyundai announcement, and boom, 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 30, 45 seconds, and putting it out there and what it means, what it will translate. And then, you have the numbers flashing and the whole thing on the screen as things are being announced. That will resonate with people, but also you're going to where the audience is. We talked about it last hour, and we've talked about it before, where they're migrating from. They're migrating from CNN and MSNBC and everything else. But beyond the liberals in that group, the average American is going to be somewhere on social media at some point during the day for a considerable amount of time. I don't know what the latest polls show or data or surveys show about how much time people spend on social media. But at one point it was, and this was back when Facebook had greater dominance, but, it was hours. It was the prime time viewing, basically. And you might have your TV on in the background or streaming something, but you're actually sitting there on Facebook. You're scrolling. And that is the case on a regular basis. Our attention span is changing because of social media, TikTok videos, YouTube shorts. And I think people love that. All right, let me get it in within a minute, and watch it and then move on to something else. But if you can pepper social media with these announcements, then they become real victories if you can demonstrate what they mean.
I'm not even talking about that, though. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about where he's sitting around with his cabinet.
Oh, no.
That's the thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because the announcements are, and I'm not saying the announcements aren't good, but I was specifically talking about, the shots of Elon Musk yesterday, talking about the fraud, Pam Bondi next to him, talking about the fact that we're going to go after, this fraud that exists. But it's like he's got, and yes,
I think you can do that in TikTok form. I think you can break those.
And they're doing it on TikTok now.
Yeah.
And so when you have, it's almost as if you have not just, I remember a listener who became a friend of mine, God rest her soul. She died recently. But she was the one that I'll never forget messaged me one day. And this was with the COVID hearings. This would have been 5 years ago, right? Well, probably 5 years ago, middle to late April, where she called me. She said, if Trump doesn't shut up, he's going to lose the election. And the biggest Trump supporter you could possibly ever imagine. It shocked me that she said it. But she said he's got to shut up. He's got to let the fact is, though, the people that he had in there didn't have his back. The Faucis or whatever.
The first term was chaos,
right? And so you can look at that and go, okay, that was pure, that was pure chaos. But he's got a team of people around him that are loyal, and it's almost as if you've got a group of people planning. And you compare it to the lack of transparency. I said transparency, I meant the lack of transparency of the Biden administration. And it really is noteworthy. And it's not Trump doing all the talking. He's delegating authority. And you get the thing, this guy's the head guy, but these are the people that are experts on everything that are doing stuff.
Well,
that's how it comes across to me. And it's tough because you and I never stop looking at the news. And so it's tough for me to extrapolate out how I view something versus how the average person who works a completely different job that isn't based on the news or gathering news or analyzing anything. But I still think that I'm correct in my analysis for the majority of people. When they see it, you say, well, he's doing something every day. He's doing something every day. And it doesn't come across as political. And I think that's why when you hear the Democrats going, we need to get rid of the oligarchy, these rich people, the billionaires are running it, and the billionaires just want to make more money. You can't make that case. It's not selling to the American people. You and I talked many times about how Trump was the one who defeated economic class warfare as an analysis of how you might do as a president. Because Romney was blasted even by Newt Gingrich.
Yeah.
Because he was out of touch, because he was a rich elite.
Right. And he had like a tenth of the wealth that Trump had.
Right. And so Trump is the one who defeated, he's defeated a lot, but he defeated class warfare where people don't make those judgments anymore. Independents don't make that judgment anymore. It's simply the people that play class warfare, which is the radical left. Because you cannot make the argument to anybody that Elon Musk is doing this to enrich himself or Trump is doing this to enrich himself.
When you do the numbers, it's not the case.
It's not.
At all.
It's not the
and
case.
And they both knew that going in.
Yeah. So it's
not like it's not like I believe you're never going to hear from either one of them. Oh no! I believe 100% of the people who supported me now coming into this are going to come with me, and that's why I'm doing it. No.
He's not doing it exactly how we had said it in the first term, but we had said a long time ago, he needs to promote the fact that I'm a builder. I build things. I build things. I get things done. That's why I want your vote. And what you see right now, he's not saying those exact words, but that message to me, that hits me every single day. We're here to do a job. We're here to get a job done.
Yeah.
We're not here to get rich. That's not our thing. We're not here to get rich. And you see the memes. People sit there and say that are Elon Musk and Trump getting rich? I think the question should be, and they list all the Democrats, this was their net worth when they started in politics. Now they're worth millions. How did they get that? That's extremely effective.
Right.
And
and the approach here has also been, the president has a pretty good balance right now of, as you say, demonstrating that he delegates and to capable people, but also those members of his staff and administration have been very clear as they talk to the media, the president's agenda, the president's agenda, the president's agenda. That's very unlike his first term. And so you see this cohesiveness. Not only is it unlike his first term, it is light years, galaxies away from where Biden was. There was no cohesiveness in the Biden administration. You didn't see anything. The only cohesiveness they had was covering up his cognitive issues. That was the tightest that group ever was. There was nothing that had them saying, well, President Biden, blah, 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 blah. There were very few of them saying that. When you see Trump in front of or sitting with or in a group or in front of the press with a group of people, and you see, and each of them are going to talk. I mean, the other day with the F-47 announcement, he said to Vice President Vance, he said, Vice President Vance, you're here. And he goes, I don't know if you want to, jump in. If you have anything to say, I don't want to leave you out. It was one of those kind of, passing moments where you understand he's going out of his way to take questions, not avoid the media. And again, galaxies away from where we were with the Biden administration. There was no cohesiveness. Who knows what? Well, we know what their agenda was. Who knows who was in charge making the decisions? It's just insane to think about. It went on for 4 years, and now it's a very different scenario, and should be. But this is the way it should be done. This is the way it should be done.
It is the way that it should be done. Every single day, if I wasn't paying attention to the news, I would be on social media still, as everybody is, and looking and going, oh, what is, and there's a lot of, 30-minute clips you see. Okay, this is the Treasury Secretary talking to the president here. Okay, what's he talking about? Okay, oh, yeah, reprivatizing the economy. The GDP counts so much government spending. They're trying to get back to the private economy. That was part of what the Treasury Secretary was saying yesterday. I'm like, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And then they cut to somebody else. Well, what's going on over here? What do you have over? It was what you want out of government, and there wasn't a lot of BS. That's why you and I didn't care. Well, we didn't see anything wrong when Elon Musk, remember when he was sitting there with the kid? And it was like, see, Trump is sitting. He's subservient. We're like, shut up.
Come on. He's standing up because his kid's kind of running around the place.
Yeah, it was actually the cutest thing as he was explaining it.
Right.
And you knew, everybody knows, the guy behind the desk is in charge.
There's no doubt.
If you're not acknowledging that, if that's not the message you see, well, then you bought the fact that the border was secure under Biden.
They can't stand the fact that he had the political comeback of all time.
Yeah, he did.
They can't stand the fact that he's actually doing things. And you know what they can't stand? In the way that they've separated people and created more victims and oppressors, they can't stand that someone's actually in charge. Because for the last 4 years, nobody was. They all thought they were the boss.
Mr. or Mrs. Autopen.
Exactly. I got a question for Autopen. Otto, can I talk to you? Sean's brother, Autopen.
Hey, Bick, what do you have to say?
What do you have
that's
to
an
say?
old joke. All right, that's 866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just a couple of examples of what we're talking about. This is Elon Musk yesterday talking to the president.
Well, a clear case of fraud was with the Small Business Administration, where they were handing out loans, $330 million worth of loans to people under the age of 11. I think the youngest, Kelly, was a 9-month-old who got a $100,000 loan. That's a very precocious baby we're talking about here.
We're tackling the fraud, waste, and abuse in the agency. We've seen, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud go unprosecuted, so we're taking that on. We have a zero-tolerance policy for fraud, and we continue to crack down on it and make sure people are held accountable.
That was Elon Musk and Kelly Loeffler, Small Business Administration, talking about the fraud.
Yeah.
And you saw Pam Bondi then afterwards came out and said, we're going to be going after the fraud. We're going to be prosecuting the fraud going on in government.
Yeah.
You tie all those things together in one day. What a wonderful message that is. And remember, and you're talking to a cynic here. I've been covering politics enough. By the way, full transparency, I'm good friends with her cousin.
Whose cousin?
Kelly Loeffler.
Okay.
My old producer at KXL in Portland, Oregon.
Oh.
Leafy.
Oh, all right. All right. Yeah.
Cousins.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Okay.
And then you had Secretary of the Treasury yesterday, Scott Jennings, talking about this. Here we go.
We are under your direction. We're reprivatizing the economy. We're bringing down government spending. We're bringing down excess employment in the government sector.
Right there. I just wanted to play that because, again, there's Trump, and he said under, what do you say, under your direction, or whatever he said, under your direction. As you said earlier, when they say it, they're saying, this is what you want to do. This is what you want to do. And everybody's around in a circle.
Yep.
You know, he's got a number of members of his cabinet in there with him. I don't know if the whole cabinet was in there, but you look at it, it almost was like, all right, this is the weekly report about what we've done. And by the way, I mean, they can't do it remote. They have to be there in person.
Yeah, exactly.
What an example that is to set.
Yeah, right.
You guys need to be here in person.
Yeah. Well, and it's, remember Biden, I think he was referring to Austin, and he goes, that guy in charge of the outfit. What? You mean the Secretary of Defense? Remember that? It was so bad. And Austin wasn't there. You know, the thing about the F-47 announcement last night, remember?
Yeah.
Just in charge of the outfit.
Last guy didn't even know
he didn't even
who his
know
cabinet was.
And they're never around. I mean, the other day with the F-47 announcement, there's Peter Hegseth standing over to the right, and everybody's there, and they're all taking questions. Very transparent.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. I think that my computer's listening to me.
No, mine too. Yeah.
Because I had said, the Democrats trying to make the case. And I saw this last weekend just a ton on social media. It's the party of the oligarchy. The oligarchs are running the government. It's the billionaires. The billionaires are as if they're attempting to get rich and screw you over. And I'm like, they can't make that case. So I had said the oligarchy and oligarch in the last 20 minutes. All of a sudden I look, I'm scanning the first thing I see when I refresh. A audio cut from the great conservative commentator Victor Davis Hanson, and it's the party of the oligarchy is the Democrats. That's the first thing that comes up.
Yeah.
After I'd said it twice, and here it is. So I figured, let me listen to it. So I did, and here it now. It's about all the Democratic politicians in California, but it still applies. Here we go.
Nancy Pelosi, Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, Kamala Harris, Jerry Brown, Gavin Newsom. They're all from the same place. They're all from the same class. They're all very wealthy. They all have estates. Gavin's living in a $9 million home. Jerry's got a big Grass Valley estate. Feinstein had one of the most beautiful homes at Tahoe. Barbara Boxer's at Rancho Mirage. But their policies made sure that people where I live can't buy a house because of the regulations. It's so hard to do. Or they made sure that food is very expensive, or there's no natural gas. And because it doesn't affect them, because they have enough money, that they don't really care about the rates. They can either get their income and capital gains or get write-up, but they don't really worry about it. And then something like Los Angeles happens. And now that everybody's dumbfounded.
Yeah. It's interesting because there has been, again, and I think it continues, this awakening, because what are we not paying attention to? What are people dealing with? They're dealing with realities. The harsh realities of the LA fires. It's and the leaders who were just the mayor, the governor, absolutely tone deaf, almost like they were running away from it. That changes everything, because we've talked about in the past how, like a senator or a member of the House who's on the left, they say something and they think, well, I'm safe in my district. Yeah, but you're hurting your party. There's fallout for the party. Now, Gavin Newsom is, I think, as a result of the botched response, his response, not the firefighters, but the handling of that whole thing. There's his own fallout, but I think also you couple that with his podcast that's just imploding in terms of the feedback and kickback that they're getting. It reflects on the whole party. When you have people that look with honest eyes, they understand, oh my gosh, this is how they all are. This is how they all act. And even if they're not as radical as, whoever it might be at that moment, through their actions, they are. They may not say the radical things out loud, but then you look at the voting record and you look at, everything of where they are as a group, and it's as radical as it gets. People don't connect with that. They just don't. And I don't know to what extent the awakening is going to continue. I hope it continues forever. If it keeps growing, that means that we get back to being a very sensible nation and conservative and libertarian values reign, and everybody moves on from this radical behavior with the exception of a few people, on the far left. But I don't know that that's going to be the case. I don't put trust in that. You and I have been doing this for too long to put that kind of trust in anything, because we know how active the left is. We know what the activists want to do. We know that they're not done. The question is, are they going to continue to fail to connect with people because they're just not handling anything well?
You said we've done this for a long time, and 36 years for me in talk radio. 43 years overall covering the news, because even when I was in music radio, I was the boss in many stations, and we had news departments, so I was, always paying attention to what was going on, more behind the scenes at that point. But I've never seen a major political party as weak as the Democrats are right now. I get this question constantly from Republicans, on the economy. They're worried. Can Trump, get it done? And it's like, well, we'll see. We'll see. I think that there's many, many positives of what he is doing. The only thing that we really have complained about is the lack of consistency in the messaging on tariffs. Mm-hmm. But as we said before, that's all going to. He will respond to how the economy responds to it.
He doesn't want the economy to tank.
Right.
We know that.
Right. So that to me isn't as big of a worry. I would like it to be more consistent. But no, I am always the one thing with me with the Republican presidency. It's always in the back of my mind. I know it's in yours too, Eric. It's tick, 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 tick. How long does it take you to win on all the issues, which you can do?
Right.
And he is. The vast majority of the issues, he's got landslide numbers. But then I look at the other side and I say, my God, they're going to give he'll have a honeymoon for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about it. And we mentioned the imagery backed by the substance that is given by Trump just this week. The round table meetings, the people all around discussing things and all that. And then the Democrats. What have you heard from Democrats this week? Who have been the loudest voices for the Democrats? Well, Schumer's out there, but nobody's really paying much attention to him So really this week, it's been, think about this, and I don't believe I'm exaggerating in any manner or form. Bernie Sanders,
Yeah.
AOC, my congressperson, and Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the voices that you have heard this week.
Right.
And it's like, well, this is crazy. It's like, yeah, it is crazy because they're just spouting off crazy stuff. By the way, I was talking about Jasmine Crockett, who was, but really those are the voices of the Democratic Party. And the last 48 hours, it's Jasmine Crockett. I'm not promoting violence. Punch, punch, punch.
Yeah.
I mean, she's playing this game, this childish game of, okay, I'm going to throw out words that can be taken violent by the other side, and then I'll just say, no, I meant punch in this particular way. And it's childish.
Yeah, she's only doing it to get a rise and get...
Right.
Again, what I've been saying all along, she's doing this to raise her own profile. She doesn't care about her constituents.
She certainly doesn't care about me.
I know she doesn't care about you. Or the duck in your backyard.
I had to throw that in. I had to throw that in. She doesn't care about me. I'm actually one of her constituents, which makes it great. How many constituents of Jasmine Crockett like me think she's bat soup crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, she's a nutcase.
Only because she is.
Well, I will say this. Her image is she's a nutcase. She doesn't realize she lives in this... she thinks she's living in California. Now she is living in a gerrymandered district where she was able to get, well, I think it was close to 85% of the vote in the general election, but she's still in Texas.
Yeah, right. Yep. It's, I think, right now, a very good scenario that's going on. Gosh, even with the thing with the Atlantic, it made the news, and we'll see where it goes from here. But the president yesterday, when he was asked by the media about this, and he was at the Hyundai announcement thing, and he said, I'm just learning about it. He didn't seem overly concerned at that point. And it made me wonder, well, my gosh, if this was crucial and they were in damage control mode, well, he would clearly be aware of it. So, again, how big of a deal is this going to be? We'll wait and see. We don't know. But it wasn't one of those things. So many things in his first term seemed like crisis mode that weren't crisis mode. And that's because he did not have, everything right now is gelled. Everything right now is clear unity with his staff, with others in the GOP, with his cabinet. Everybody is on board, and it's full stop, his agenda.
Well, when you look at it, too, how the left tried to handle the Atlantic story, immediately tried to defend Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
You can't I don't want to hear anything about Hillary anymore. What are you talking about?
Right.
This, if the entire story is true from the Atlantic, it was a mistake. It was a bad mistake. Somebody in the security department, the National Security Council, should be taken to task quite severely on this, because I believe they're the ones that are in charge of this. But no damage was done. And in all likelihood, there'll be some investigations on it. Congress already said, the Republicans said they're going to do an investigation on it.
Yeah.
Probably the Inspector General will look into it, and you move on, and this mistake doesn't happen, doesn't happen again. Hillary Clinton was a premeditated move to keep her computer out of the security system and out of the Freedom of Information Act system in order to avoid the Freedom of Information Act.
It was a series of very deliberate moves.
Exactly.
To make it happen.
They're not comparable at all.
No.
Because for the period of time that she was Secretary of State, they believe, and Comey said this, enemy actors got in to her computer.
Right.
We don't know what they got.
Right.
We have no idea what they got over years because she decided she was going to avoid the Freedom of Information Act, which is against the law to begin with. Mm-hmm. And what she did was against the Espionage Act, and it was premeditated and calculated. It wasn't a mistake.
Right.
There's nobody making the allegation they did this on purpose. Well, I mean, some people are. Some Trump supporters are saying, no, the leak was on purpose. There's no evidence of that at all.
No.
And if they did it, it wasn't. If that's what you think, I don't believe that would have been a smart move. That was the only response I got today on Twitter was that one.
Mm-hmm.
That was or on X, whatever.
Yeah.
You guys aren't talking about this was done on purpose in order to intimidate our enemies or whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, not really. You can do that through other channels.
If you mean enemies at the Atlantic.
I don't think that's what they meant.
I don't think so either.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just reading some of these headlines here. Democrats continue to struggle with trans issues. No kidding.
Yeah, really.
This Trump commenting on George Clooney yesterday. A second-rate movie star and failed political pundit. Clooney yesterday they talked about, by the way, I used to watch his father because he was talking about his father being a journalist. He goes, I was raised to tell the truth. Oh, my God.
Yeah, really?
You've enabled the lies of the Democratic Party for the last decade.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
Yeah. I was raised to tell the truth.
His father was a Buffalo TV anchor for a while.
Mm-hmm.
George Clooney's.
Right.
He
was on, was it AMC or the other movie?
Yeah, he did AMC.
He
did that too. Yeah, he certainly did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he believes that freedom of the press is going away. Apparently, he wasn't paying attention to what the Biden administration was doing.
Yeah.
The censoring that they were doing. So Trump is completely right. I've always said about Clooney looks like he's intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that look.
Yeah.
But you have to wait till he actually speaks to realize he really isn't. Trump is right on that.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for being here. As always.
Thank you.
Trump just pounding on Clooney yesterday. But, Clooney on 60 Minutes, and I said, wow, a Broadway show on Edward R. Murrow against McCarthy. The 1950 stuff and how important it is because when the executive branch fails us and the legislative branch fails us and the judicial branch fails us, the fourth estate will not. Shut up.
Yeah. Maybe it's that you're failing the system. Maybe you're not living up to what the system actually provides when there's opportunity and this is how the left works. If it's not working in my favor, do away with all of it.
Well, I mean, when he tries to make this he says, I was, his father was a TV anchor.
Yeah.
So he said, I was raised to tell the truth.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you just discovered that Biden was incapable after the debate.
Yeah, we
You
believe
didn't
that.
see what we saw every single day on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I may be I'm saying that a lot here to talk about, George Clooney. And then the media and Trump attacking the media. And we need to protect the media so we don't have McCarthyism anymore. And Edward R. Murrow doesn't have to fight against McCarthy like I have to fight against Trump. That's the message he was communicating. He didn't say that precisely. But the message was clear. The mainstream media that George Clooney supports was a bunch of political activists who never cared about the damn truth to begin with. So shut up again. George Clooney, shut up.
And keep shutting up.
And keep shutting up.
It's a Bugs Bunny line, I think. Shut up, shutting up. Yeah, it's it is.
I'm actually, by the way, I'm actually fine with him talking because
please.
when you break it down, I really don't. I mean, I just wanted to say there's something enjoyable about saying shut up.
Yeah,
there's an anger and passion at the same time.
Right.
You think about it. Just because it's a very coarse word, a lot of curse words are coarse. And when you say, shut up, there's an aggressiveness to the word.
It's funny because I was watching the Nate Land podcast, Nate Bargatze, and he's got 3 other comedians on there with him on a regular basis. And every once in a while, other comedians will come in. And so they're all clean comedians. And they talk about how certain words, depending on how you use them, or it can be the word itself, can be as impactful as a curse word.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the way you deliver it. It's also the word, so it kind of has that exclamation point that a lot of comedians just rely on the curse word to get it done, And I found that interesting. I thought, no, that's kind of what we have to do. Now, listen, when the mics are off, behind the scenes, in the hallway, just ask our production staff. We're cursing up a storm. But no, but I mean, you have to be creative in finding a way to get the point across. And I like shut up. By the way,
it does have like I said, it's a very coarse sounding word, which I think a lot of curse words have that make them effective and satisfying to say.
It really is, except when you're at the drive-through Chick-fil-A. When they say, "Okay, my pleasure." Shut up! Don't do that. That's not nice.
But then again, if you don't curse, people might remember you a half a century later. A guy I played basketball with, John, great guy. Mm-hmm. We still keep in contact on Facebook, and he still remembers the time when we played adult league basketball. So this has to be 73 or 74. And I don't know, I can't remember if I stole the ball or whatever, but I'm going in for the layup, and I missed the layup. I miss the layup, and I come around, and the thing rolls around the room and comes out. And I'm coming around from underneath the basket back onto the court, and I'm just livid at myself. And I was ready to curse up a storm. Now, we practiced at this Catholic church.
Yeah.
And so I missed the layup, and I came out, and I went, son of a,
Yeah.
And I look, and there's a priest walking in the door.
Oh, well.
And I'm like, son of a gun, mother of our Lord, whatever.
Yeah.
And just to do everything not to curse, I'll never forget, he fell down on the floor and he was laughing. And a half century later, he still remembers that.
Yeah.
He still remembers
it happened to me one time. Now, I was actually in church. But that's the problem, is you have to know your surroundings. Yeah. But I have my substitutes. One of them is like, Sons of Anarchy. I use that one a lot. I mean, I was going to say, because my grandkids are around, well, heck, my grandkids, my oldest grandkids, are one of them's about to be 20 here in a couple of months. You know, she knows all the curse words. She doesn't use them a lot, but like, I don't know who I'm protecting now. It's just, if I'm in my backyard, I'll do that because I'm always thinking my neighbors are also out in their yard. You know, I can't see them. I have an 8-foot fence. I have an 8-foot barrier. And so I can't really see if someone's on the other side of that fence always. So I'll use my substitutes. I have a few of them.
You know, you and I have actually said that if we just did a podcast, then we could actually say the word.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I've done a podcast, somebody else's podcast, and had the opportunity to curse,
yeah,
I don't.
Yeah,
I think I want to, and then I don't. It's like, that's not what I'm known for because I'm in radio, and so you think about it because the host may use a word, and you say, well, I guess it's okay, I can use it, and then I think, no, that's not my brand,
right? Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah, right.
It's not my. We have fun with it. We say things like bat soup crazy, and everybody knows what we mean by that.
even in private, you know, it strikes me when
we really don't curse.
You know,
much.
I try not to. It happens, but when it does happen, it's like that's not thoughtful. You know, because the point is, you're trying. The point is the point. You're trying to get a point across. You're trying to state something.
The point, that's quite redundant, but it makes sense. The point is
the whole point is having a point. Now, look, I've been doing a lot of projects recently, and, well, let's just say there have been injuries. When that happens, hammer on the toe. Oh, dropped a hammer. I dropped a hammer the other day.
Oh.
Oof. Yeah.
Stubbing your toe? Well, that's justifiable cursing.
Yeah.
Because when you stub the toe, the quarter of a second in between stubbing the toe and the pain hitting you is one of the longest but shortest moments of time that exist because you know it's coming in a quarter of a second and your mind goes, oh, no, it's coming. Yeah!
And it's one thing around the house, but what if you're in public? I was actually in the hardware store the other day, and I fell and pulled a groin muscle. And I told the guy I was sorry, but I didn't mean to do it.
Stop it.
But
Stop it.
I have done that, though. I have, like, looking at something on the shelf at a store or something, and then you drop it. It doesn't break. You just drop it, and you're like, why is it instantly in your mind that you just want to blurt it out? Blah, 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 blah. Pick it up and put it back on the shelf. It's it's an ongoing experiment and effort. But I expected more cursing from the Trump administration than what we're seeing these days. But it's the left who's really taken on the cursing, though.
Oh, they've taken it on.
It's like a master class. Actually, it's not. If you want a master class in cursing, go listen to an old Richard Pryor album. But, you know,
Carlin.
But it's not, there's the master class. But for the left, it's not a master class at all. It's actually childish. You know what it sounds like every time they do it? It sounds like they just learned the word. Because, okay. All right, I'm going to tell a story here. This is a true story. Years ago, one of my children asked one of her children to go find their dad. You know, my daughter's husband. Hey, go see where dad is. So the child returns a couple of minutes later. Well, where's dad? What's he doing? He's cleaning the mother blanking shower. She was 5 years old. But it's what dad blurted out when she asked, Mom wants to know, what are you doing? It's We were going down the road one time when one of my daughters was probably around that same age, probably around 7, maybe. She's in the back seat, and it's just her. The other 2 kids aren't with us that day for whatever reason. I don't know. We didn't like those other 2 much, but we took her along. So she's in the back seat, and we're talking. And everything that we say, she's repeating, well, okay, let's go to the grocery store. Let's go to the grocery store. Blah, 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 blah. And so I threw out a curse word, kind of daring her. And I said, no blank. And she goes, no blank, out of reflex. And the look on her face when I looked in the rearview mirror at her in the back seat looked like she wanted to die. She was just, So it does happen, but that's what it sounds like when the left curses. It sounds like a kid who just learned that word and wants to try it out. That's what it sounds like. They all sound like children. And by the way, our apologies to children. But they do. When they're doing this, it's a tactic that they're using. I mean, they've been doing it lately. Now, here's the difference. Now they're cursing Chuck Schumer.
Well, you saw, though, when they were cursing, this is when they were holding those rallies, and every one of them was cursing, and the media got on their case.
Yeah.
Media said,
we can't cover you.
Why are you cursing?
Right.
And, it's a great point. TV stations, we got to bleep it out.
Right.
It doesn't get across.
And if this is how it's going to be.
And they seem to stop, and then that's when it seemed the last 10 days or so, it's just been a constant diet of Bernie Sanders, AOC.
Yeah.
My congressperson.
Yeah, Crockett.
Not the guy in Miami Vice.
Right.
Jasmine Crockett.
And not the Alamo guy.
And then Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
That's been the representatives of the Democratic Party.
It really has been.
They don't have to curse, but they're just nuts. They're all, you sit there and you shake your head. You're like, wow. And that's still, to me, the most interesting political question in the United States. I know where the Republicans are going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating watching it happen, but the most interesting question is, where do the Democrats go from here? Because they haven't figured it out yet.
Right.
They've not figured it out. That was the article that I was reading. Democrats continue to struggle with the trans issue. They can't go all the way. They sit there and, Gavin Newsom, well, I can understand the unfairness about it. You're going to do anything different? No, because there are other considerations. Then you're not.
Right.
They just can't do it. Oh, man, we'll give you an example. Oh, I'll give you a perfect example coming up here. An audio cut that we have. But, and so all you have is this insanity. They can't change on any issue, and anything that Trump believes. I wonder if Bernie Sanders gets blowback when he says, I agree with Trump on something now.
Yeah,
he said that the other day again.
Yeah.
I agree with Trump on this. I wonder whether it's not even acceptable from Bernie, because Bernie said it in his first term and seemed to get away with it.
Right.
Can Bernie even get away with it now?
Yeah, no, I think we brought that question up, but, the fact that he's, again, agreed with something else recently, I don't know. Does Bernie get a pass on everything? Does the left not take Bernie seriously? Is he not the player that he once was? He's just, he's just Bernie, because he mentioned the other day, when I came in, there was only 4 or 5 of us, basically radicals, and now there's, 100 or more. And because there are so many, maybe Bernie doesn't stand out anymore.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. Due to safety concerns, many motor carriers have policies that limit or prohibit the use of cruise control. If your motor carrier does allow you to use cruise control, you should only use it in good driving conditions during daylight hours and on roads that have light traffic, few curves or hills, and a consistent speed limit. Never use cruise control when operating in adverse driving conditions, including wet, icy, or slippery roads, during rush hour in heavy traffic or on congested highways, at night, or when you're tired or fatigued. During all of these driving scenarios, you want to be controlling and adjusting your speed as you drive instead of having to suddenly brake if you encounter an obstacle. In the case of a slippery road surface, you want to be able to slow your vehicle by not accelerating instead of using the brakes whenever possible. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Yeah, just looking at this headline here, Democrats continue to struggle with the trans issue. Jack Butler wrote it saying, Democrats aren't changing. They can't change. And even the ones that are talking about the fact that when we need to look at it, we need to have a conversation on it, their conversation leads to eventually convincing you that a man can become a biological woman if the man says so.
Right, yeah.
You want a great example? You know, we've been playing, there's been a lot more of the conservative people on college campuses lately. I don't know when this was, but this is one of the Charlie Kirk ones. Okay. You ready for this?
All right.
This is an instructor at one of these colleges. Listen to this on the radical transgender movement. Here we go.
You are why we should eliminate the Department of Education. Hold on. I got it. So,
reality.
So, last question. Hold on. So, you would say I'm a misinformation machine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Fine. You're a teacher. Yes. What is a woman?
What is a woman? Oh, buddy. All right. So, we define gender as a set of preferences that you have. Gender is a set of preferences that we have. Woman is a social construct that we've agreed upon. Typically, we imagine womanhood as makeup or whatever. There is a difference between the word woman and being a biological female. Woman is a social construct that we use. Listen for a second. I'm telling you what it means. Woman is a social construct. We agree on these set of preferences. If I tell you that I'm a man, it's because I want you to know that I like these set of preferences. If I tell you I'm a woman, it's because I want you to know that I agree with these set of preferences.
Can men give birth?
Can men or can males? Because males can't. Listen for a second. If you listen to your bio professors, you would understand there's a difference between biology and what we think
So
about.
I want to thank you for proving a great point.
What?
You are why we should eliminate the Department of Education. Thank you very much.
That was great. Great job.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Now, that guy that was speaking there, the teacher on the transgender issue, he got it wrong, by the way. He would be chastised.
By the left standards.
By the left standards.
Yeah.
Because he was saying, no, you got to understand. Men can get pregnant, males cannot.
Yeah. You can't distinguish between biological males and males or female and biological female. You can't do that on the left.
He's has not graduated from the leftist opinion from 10 to 15 years ago, which when they were trying to justify that gender is different than sex. Mm-hmm. Well, now they don't do that anymore. He hasn't got, did he not get the notice? Has the media failed to give him the notice?
Well, the liberal university's probably going to fire him.
Oh, that could happen. He doesn't even realize that that's not the argument anymore.
No.
That's why biological men can play women against that biological men can play sports against biological women.
Right.
Because there's no difference.
Yep.
If a man says he's a biological woman, he's a biological woman. that justifies the radical transgender insanity of men playing against women in sports.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even have it correct.
Nope.
Is that why Charlie Kirk said that that's why we should abandon the Department of Education, because he didn't have that right, even by the liberal standard? It reminded me, you and I always got the biggest kick. I'll never forget, we said the same sound effect came from both of us when Biden was asked a long time ago. This is his campaign.
Yeah.
In 2020. How many genders are there? 3. Oh, my gosh. We both lost it.
Wrong answer.
You can't give that. That's
wrong answer.
No. Infinite.
That's right. That would be, well, I'd turn it back on them, because if you want to be a leftist, this is how you'd have to play it. How dare you ask that question? It shows how misinformed you are.
Right.
If you're even asking that question, and then you walk away.
So here we go. Democrats in Maine are pushing for a bill that would require all public schools to provide tampons in boys' bathrooms. Man, they're doubling down on this.
Oh, yeah.
Starting in middle school. A move that comes as state leaders continue to face a backlash over their stance on the transgender athletes competing in women's sports. The bill, introduced by Representative Kirsten Cloutier of Lewiston, seeks to require all public schools in the state that serve grades 6 through 12 to make tampons and sanitary pads available in all student bathrooms, including those designated specifically for males. The bill is being pushed during an ongoing debate over whether transgender athletes should be allowed to compete on female sports teams, particularly in high school. Wow. This is really quite clearly the pattern that reveals where the legislative Democrat priorities are, said State Representative Rachel Henderson. Henderson likened the move to the ongoing budget battle in the legislature, which saw Democrats usurp Republican authority in order to get their priorities across by passing a bill without a 2/3 majority. The move has delayed critical funds needed for the state's Medicaid program. According to Henderson, it just shows you how out of touch the legislative Democrats here are in Maine. Understand that this is because a significant portion of their base wants this.
Yeah.
This is the Democratic voter wants this insanity. And then getting to Jack Butler's column, just a couple of sentences. Yesterday, I wrote about the immense power that transgender ideology still has over the left, even as evidence mounts that transgender activists deny not just biological, but also political reality.
Mm-hmm.
The left's angry reaction to California Governor Gavin Newsom declaring it's deeply unfair for women to compete against men in sports is one example of the enduring hold when it comes to this issue. Newsom isn't the only Democrat struggling to make sense of this new political terrain. I just love it.
Yeah.
Like it's this effort.
Right, yeah.
Despite activist interference, some congressional Democrats believe their approach must change, yet this effort in some way involves Congressman Sarah McBride, born Tim. McBride, unsurprisingly, believes that when it comes to the trans issue, a binary choice between being all on or all off is not constructive to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
The few Democrats in the House have dissented from the transgender line. Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton, among others, have expressed something like Newsom's view, earning severe criticism from fellow Democrats for doing so. McBride objects to this reaction. He finds it incredibly a problematic instinct that many have to excommunicate people who aren't in lockstep with you on every policy or aren't in lockstep with you on the messaging. Yet in this supposed clarity, McBride cannot quite let go of the presumption that transgender activists deserve eventually to win out. His case for civil conversation on trans issue is based on creating room for a lack of understanding, for disagreement, for grace, and therefore to create room for growth. Growth, that is, towards a faith in progress, self-servingly defined that for too many on the left functions as a religion, as I described it yesterday. Even attempts by elected Democrats to reckon with what some are beginning to accept is at least a political problem cannot let go of this pseudo-faith. Do not expect large-scale change in the party or on the left until they do. And they're not going to do it.
They're not going to do it.
Not going to do it.
Not going to happen.
Nope.
Well, there's been discussion that, some assessment that, they may be moving away. They're not going to move away. Let's say a few of them do move away. Well, it just means that the radicals get louder. If some want to kind of back away from that, sorry, at that point, on the left, by their own standards, you become the oppressor. And it means that the radicals are going to see that as a win. All right, great. We're moving on with our agenda. This isn't going away. No chance it's going away. And it'll be interesting to watch, how it's received. Because we're seeing it more and more. Parents are fighting back. More and more women athletes are fighting back. This is something that needs to happen. Now, on the left, you have very few females, very few, that are fighting back, and that boggles my mind. But you're seeing this. I mean, I don't know how you don't. Riley Gaines has been standing up for a few years now. How is it that all the women on the left aren't standing up? You can't. Sorry. It's the reason other female athletes won't come out and they won't stand up because they're afraid of the mob. We're going to come after you. Riley Gaines made an appearance at a university right here in our area. Was it last summer or last year sometime? One of them shouted, "I know where you live," at someone who was attending her speaking engagement. That's the mob. We'll come after you. We'll shut you down. We'll corner you. They've done that literally to Riley Gaines. They will take your way of life. They'll come after you at work. Want to take your ability to earn, all of these things. They'll shut you down. That's who the left is. That's who the left is at their core. Don't you dare stand up. Well, for the people who are voting for the left, you vote for this, you're part of it. You own it. You may not be out there at a rally. You may not be one of them that's part of the mob, but you're supporting that behavior, full stop.
And when you look at it, the DEI, I saw at Columbia, the faculty holding an emergency vigil, urging the students to wear masks and skip class to protest Trump, and they're just furious at everything that's going on, and the elimination of DEI in order to keep the cash flowing at these prestigious universities, so-called, quote, prestigious universities. They're doing it because they want the cash. They don't plan on changing. They're going to try to find every way around it. Understand, you can look at some of the worst character traits in human beings. One is racism. The other is misogyny.
Yeah.
Both embraced by the mainstream of the Democratic Party. You're going to need another generation to come in. You're not going to get rid. When people become racist and misogynist, they don't change.
Right.
It takes another generation
to
come in, just like it did in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. You had to move on to new generations, and the racism still held on. And what you have here is the double whammy. You have racism of identity politics, judging people by groups and not individuals. And you have the misogyny, the incredible women hatred that exists in the radical transgender movement.
Yep.
Those horrible character traits that people hold in their minds, their hearts, and their souls are not going away until another generation replaces them.
Right.
They may grudgingly, not scream as loud to keep the cash flowing, but it's only the cash flowing that's doing it.
Yep. No, that's absolutely true.
Yep.
Absolutely true.
And these are generations that know. These are generations that know what racism is. They know it. They claim to know what misogyny is, yet they practice it anyway. You can't say it's ignorance. It is a calculated evil mindset that they have, by their own free will, decided to embrace.
Yep.
And that's where the Democratic Party is today. And everybody knows it. Every Democrat listening right now, you know your party is racist and misogynist, and you proudly support it.
Yep.
Maybe you don't. I meant the party supports it. The party, you might not. You may see the problem in it. A lot of Democrats have, but your party doesn't.
Well, and if you're voting for them, you're supporting it.
Oh, yeah, you're enabling
You're
them without question.
giving them the power to carry this agenda.
Yep.
There's only one way to end that, and that's to vote differently.
Yeah, that's when George Clooney talks about, the fourth estate and the truth and everything else. It's like, you ready? Shut up.
Shut up.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Why? Because in 1 hour, the show ends.
For the day.
For the day, yes. just for the day.
It's
the
over.
Show does not end. It's just for the day. And then we record the show, and it becomes our podcast that you can listen to at any time. So if you can't listen to the whole show, and it's tough because people go to sleep with us, which, apparently were a really great sleeping aid, which I can only take as a compliment, right?
I would just like to say that. By the way, Speaker Johnson, he has that voice. I decided in another life he's a game show host, but he's got one of those soothing voices too. I would just like to say that the president is blah blah blah. And yesterday, it's like he could do voiceover. Yeah, we have compliments all the time. Hey, you guys put me to sleep.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We can only take it as a compliment, right?
Yeah, it comes primarily from our production staff.
And then people wake up to us, and that's always great, but a lot of people don't catch the entire show, so you can do that. And if you can't listen to one of our great radio stations overnight, for some reason, we stream on our app all 5 hours live.
Yeah.
So there you go. Coming up following the top of the hour. All right, I was waiting for this. A new rocker comes out and says it's more embarrassing than ever to be an American.
Oh, all right.
We'll tell you who this rocker is.
Okay.
More embarrassing than ever to be an American.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's going to be a fun summer tour.
Yeah.
And we'll tell you if it makes any sense at all, because this rocker uses the Vietnam War as a comparison.
Oh, okay.
Which really doesn't make a lot of sense, as we'll point out to you, because apparently this rocker is okay with the racism of identity politics and the misogyny of the radical transgender movement.
Yeah.
We'll get to that and more on the way.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.